Well, right now we have a great speech which is coming up, a great talk which is going to be a government keynote session on the topic reviving the economy and creating the new normal prospects and problems. We have with us our speaker, Raja Gopal Devara, the Principal Secretary, Financial Reforms, Government of Maharashtra. Mr. Raja Gopal belongs to the IAS and is currently posted as the Principal Secretary. He delivers his service in the domain of subnational finance, including budget, cash, and debt management, coordinating with central bank and federal government. Experienced with nuances in rural banking, financial inclusion, community collectives, engaged in finance, banking, housing, agricultural, marketing, sugar sector, Mr. Devara stands as an asset to the governance structure in India. Besides, in his 25 years stint with the government of Maharashtra, Mr. Devara also has extensive operational expertise on urban infrastructure development and PPP alternate model to complement public finances in building sustainable cities. Thank you so much, Mr. Raja Gopal, for joining us today. Over to you, sir. So I've lost your audio right now. Mr. Devara?
Sections basically about school education online and then health digital mission. I'll try and see how I can relate. Can you hear me? All of you can hear, please? I believe
Yes,
I am audible.
Yes, you are audible, sir. So I've lost your audio again.
Topic, which is the finance management. But here I'm going to talk about the digital economy, the emerging digital economy and the trends post-COVID or during COVID. See, as everyone is the demonetization, which brought in large-scale digitization of financial sectors. Probably before the demonetization, the digitization and online payments were highly is the next milestone, which generally most of the researchers see is as COVID management, post-COVID lockdown, as to what is happening, how the economy is turning out, what are the sectors impacted, how they are impacted, what is it likely we see in future. So I would like to delve on few aspects of post-COVID life. The ongoing pandemic has demonstrated the critical importance of digital technologies. Under COVID-19, the world has by necessity got into isolation, which means we are a meaningful treatment which can give you confidence in return to go out and live a normal life as it was before COVID impacted us. Data growth, particularly in 2020 and 21, due to abrupt increases in work from home employees. Basically, people started working from home. As a result, there's a lot of data accumulated. Would be touching upon. According to IDC, more than 59 zettabytes of data are going to be created globally by 2020. This forecast is to grow by 175 ZP by 2025. In other terms, if you want me to say, this is like 100 million HD movies worth of data. So this is the kind of data we are generating in the present post-COVID era. So as someone said in data is the new oil. The same way, artificial intelligence is going to be the new electricity. If it is billions of devices are connected. However, the volume, veracity, as well as the velocity of the data has significantly increased in the post-COVID era, especially in India. Probably most of the around the world, it has significantly increased. It all depends on the ability of innovations to use technologies to make a sense of both various inputs, insights into what data we are generating, how effectively our data for bettering lives, bettering our own lives. Let us take a close look at how digitization is keeping digital economy afloat during pandemic. There were main streams, main changes one can foresee, one can see are visible in these digital COVID times. One is, as everyone is working, I mean, even today we are working on a webinar, which is sitting in our own home environment or in even our own office environment. Otherwise, we would have been in a good 5-star ambience, sitting in a conference room and doing physically this same webinar. But today, work from home, which is also remote working. So the working population now has remotely started digitally collaborating and improving in leaps and bounds, both in terms of sophistication, in terms of tools to facilitate it, and the comfort at which we are trying to communicate with each other or do work with each other. The second trend one can see is omni-channel commerce. So there are many physical business locations which are shut down. I mean, because of the shutdown from March 21st onwards, in different phases, entire India is shut down. Probably number of states are opening in different time slots. So as the physical business locations are shut down, consumers are turning to online businesses. Even today, most of the people who are attending this webinar would be given a free time. You would have gone for a shopping on a weekend to a good shopping mall to have an experience of shopping and chill out yourselves. But today, people on Saturdays, Sundays do online shopping instead of going to physical shopping. So the shopping needs are met through these omni-channel commerce. So the consumers are turning to digital content providers to meet their entertainment needs. There was one study wherein it is said 51% increase in we were looking into this growing sector, which is online streaming sector, to see how we can use taxation tools for increased revenues from these streaming online this place. Then the other trend which we see is platformification. Institutions and organizations of all types are trying to see how digital platforms can be used to do e-commerce, e-business. One example is the fitness industry. I mean, various other industries have already gone into this. It has shifted to holding graduate and postgraduate programs are being delivered through online classes. So there is a growing trend in uh, announced by very recently by the government. NEP marks a new beginning in education sector, whether it is school education, higher researches, or online schooling, which is basically referring to the online classes, online collaboration of teachers, colleges, students, parents, and various research institutions. So the idea is to provide a dedicated unit for the purpose of creating digital infrastructure, digital content in the government of India. Most of you who are attending this webinar, you would have experienced class from house. Children who are attending their classes, online classes from the house, you would have experienced, as parents also, you would have experienced the schooling. Even the digital textbooks would be a new norm quite soon. I know there are some publication houses which have converted themselves their school textbooks into digital textbooks, but that is very limited. But time, it's a matter of time. Soon we will see most of the textbooks getting translated into digital textbooks, and we'll be using only digital technology to reach and teach every children in India. Every child in India would be a challenging business opportunity for solution providers. This is what I want to say. Basically, with the new NEP and the set of policies and frameworks in place, we see generally in the government policymakers sees as a major opportunity for technology platforms to deliver these services. It is an apparent technological evaluation system. Basically, even the evaluations. In fact, I students who write these exam papers were online evaluated. Probably it will be a new norm in the new India with technology. Realities. When I say these are going to be new realities, probably these will open up various opportunities for technology providers, hardware providers to see how they can develop their own business opportunities using the new framework of hitherto, I mean, like earlier, we used to see the cameras and other things. These days, not many of us use cameras, but we use our own phones for cell phones for virtual reality and augmented reality, wherein the pencil, pen, eraser, paper, worksheets, everything would be replaced by virtual reality and augmented realities. So here, when I say all these things, the schooling and the colleging is going online classes with digital textbooks. Take a serious note of the digital divide in India. When I say digital divide, today's newspapers carried a news item wherein NCERT, National NCERT, everyone must be aware of it. NCERT did very recently did a sample survey in India of Kendriya Vidyalayas and central schools, wherein they said 27% of the students, 27% of the students don't use smartphones and laptops. So hardly the rest do use. But this 27% is also quite an important percentage from a universal education side. So how do we bridge this digital gap and take it into fulfilling the policy requirements, policy expectations of the government? I take you to the digital health solutions, which is a major sector which is growing fast with social distancing in place. We don't know how long we are going to stay in this kind of social distancing and lockdown. Small ailment these days, no, we don't go to doctors. In fact, we take a picture, show it on WhatsApp to our doctor and see how we can. Better day so that we can visit a doctor or visit a hospital. So in the absence of vaccine or a proven treatment, the best preventive medicine is the information sharing. This is how we are sharing our information through various medias, either a video or a. So the ambitious national digital mission unveiled on 15th of August, though it finds its roots in Niti Aayog proposal to create a centralized mechanism to uniquely identify every participating user in national health stack and give every Indian citizen a unique health ID. Like Aadhaar, it proposes to give a new unique health ID for each and every citizen of basically it is trying to create a portal wherein your health data can be changed, can be made portable, so that your health records as well as registry of doctors and health facilities. I remember my own personal case when you have to go through a MRI or a scan and other things. You go have your diagnostic then you carry your documents, medical records in a polythene bag and go to your doctor, one doctor, second doctor, third doctor for advices. But through this mission of medical data mission, we are trying to see how we can share our data online. The portability of clinically relevant data across as well as public sectors and cities and states. So in a way, what we are trying to do is like our mobile portability, mobile number portability. Your data also would be portable and visible, and pharmacists, hospital, insurers, health insurers, then even the bankers if it is required, financial institutions. So all of them would be on one platform so that your data can be used. And this has a tremendous potential in future. This mechanism, so that mechanism would be helpful in NDHM, National Data Health Mission. in down the line, 2 years, 3 years, probably everyone would be exchanging their health data, relevant data online. However, the securities are quite important. Like any other is to be maintained. Definitely, there'll be a good mechanism to see how our medical data can be secured, as well as on the changing lifestyles, changing reality sector. When I say real estate sector also, see, as we keep working from home, or even the design need to have a working place within our own flat, within our own bungalow, within our own residential flat. So probably quite soon, the realty developers will design some their house, probably co-working spaces within our own housing society, co-working places within a small locality also can be. This also means the office spaces and commercial spaces available in urban locations, especially the major cities, would be the utilization would be coming down. Actually, even today we can see Mumbai, one can feel it, how the office spaces are, the corporates are cutting down on office space occupation, and the rentals have come down quite drastically, which is a major concern for the government also, as we get a lot of revenues out of these things. Dealing in double down on digital transformation rather than putting digital transformation plans on hold. All stakeholders in digital economy need to go in a big way to see how we can enable these digital transformation. There are trends like remote work arrangements have to be made. Digitization of customer service is quite essential, which is happening on a large scale in urban spaces, though we need to work on rural spaces. Shifting in e-commerce, e-commerce has started shifting. In fact, in one totally, I mean, they are never going to see the light quite soon. Like tourism, when your pockets are tight, tourism, domestic or international tourism is affected seriously. When I say tourism, then you have hotel industry, hospitality industry, travel industry, as a result of all these things. Then contactless delivery options, outsourced IT resolutions are in place. So increasingly focus on safety, cleanliness, and health. Of late, we did see a trend in bulk buying and stockpiling by customers. Even in offices. Yeah, I mean, when I'm sitting in Mantralaya, where we do procurement, we do procurement on a large scale these days. I mean, earlier it used to be month-wise, week-wise, or fortnightly-wise, but now we do bulk buying and stockpiling. Probably every corporate and every household is doing the same way. And use of online on-demand platforms is increasingly seen in a big way. So there is a to normalcy in the sense, when I say normalcy in the form of pre March 2020. May see the new normalcy in the way of social distancing. So the coronavirus is permanently reshaping the way we live and work. Some of the behaviors developed in the crisis, including wide scale, will outlast the pandemic. Even if the pandemic has gone, we may be living in a new normal life, which may not be the same as pre-March. Even after the restrictions on different activities in the new normal of the world, organizations must respond to these behavioral changes. There are a lot of changes, behavioral changes in organizations, government, and other things. So how we meet our customer demands is quite essential. Savvy organizations may need to focus on leveraging advanced analytics, customer data, and continue experience, and redefining the customer value propositions in line with evolving preferences and needs. The needs and preferences are changing. We need to see how we capture, how the corporate world captures these evolving preferences and needs, and see how we cater to these king is changing. The financial sector needs to keep pace with these changing trends. So for that, the complete overhaul of legacy technology. Today, whatever the technologies are being used in the banking sector, whether it is core banking or any other products we are using, we need to totally overhaul these legacy technologies. Happens on a large scale by replacing legacy core systems with the cloud-based solutions and real-time solutions. Today, the visit to banks has almost become negligible. So the banks have to take care of these changing trends and see how they adapt to the new technologies. Maturation. AI in fraud and risk management has made significant gains in banking by using cybersecurity tools. However, AI for marketing and customer support is far less mature. Its AI customer support tool added 1 million users per month from March to May in 2020 to reach that is lead to deal is happening. So how can our Indian banks and financial institutions can use AI in a mature way is a challenging task. This is where technology providers can provide innovative solutions. A new generation of senior executives is of the banking and financial sector. So among the executives surveyed by Cornerstone very recently, 85% said corporate culture was a
Mr.
barrier to.
Rajagopal, I'm so sorry. We're really overshooting time, sir. It's been more than 25 minutes on the session, and our next panel is awaited. So could we please have your closing sentence, please, sir?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take just 1 minute, okay, so that I close it. Yeah, just 1 minute.
Yes, please.
So there are a lot
Okay.
of shocks to the system. So we need to see how do we realign the digital economy to the new requirements. The great reality, we need to accept this reality and see how we change our behaviors, how we change and digitize our organizations need to adapt to these revised or new realities of life. With these few words, in fact, I had a few more slides, but with this pretty much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rajagopal, for joining us.